What motivated me to join the military was, well, really there was never any question about it. Everyone in my family has served in the military. So I've got 3 kids and they're now in the military, and my father and grandfather. So it was just kind of a natural thing to do to join the military.
I was motivated to join the United States Air Force specifically because they had a wonderful quality of life. I was able to complete my education, and I also got to travel the world, meet great people, and overall I love the culture.
I come from a very colorful military background. My grandfather was actually under Patton's army and during World War II, and then went to work on the Redstone Missile Project in Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. And my father was in the Marine Corps for 20 years as a on-the-job training EOD tech, explosive ordnance disposal tech.
What motivated me to join the military was that my options were open. I initially went to college, and due to an unfortunate car accident, I didn't return my next year, so I forfeited all my scholarship. So my options were open, but when I talked to the recruiters, I found out that that may be something I was really interested in, and also an opportunity to continue my education.
I joined straight out of high school. I was motivated by service to country, service to my family, and trying to make my mother proud.
I was motivated to join the military because I was in the middle of school. It was after my second year of college, and I was not the kind of student who was happy just going to school, so I wanted some real world experience, and so I joined the Air Force and completed school while I was in the Air Force.
My motivation for joining the military really came from a sense of duty. I was raised by my grandmother who maybe had a 3rd grade education, and she instilled in me the concept of service to your country.
My first motivation was money for college, but then once I joined, I got a sense of service and country. It was the first time I really knew who I was and how I fit into the scheme of things as a person, a citizen of the United States.
Well, it started in high school. So freshman year of high school, orientation, the Navy ROTC, they were showing a video of their drill team, their exhibition drill team. And I saw it and I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. Something about the precision and the discipline really appealed to me. So I did ROTC in high school. I went to a military college, and then I joined active duty Air Force, and then I was in the Guard. I'm from Illinois, so I joined the Illinois Air National Guard. So I've known since I was 14 that I wanted to go into the military.
I usually observe Veterans Day by reflecting on the service our veterans have rendered to our nation, with emphasis on those veterans in my immediate family, particularly those who have died in the service of their country.
I observe Veterans Day typically by volunteering to lay wreaths at the Arlington Cemetery. It's a nice event because you see many different branches out there working to pay honor and respect to those who have passed on.
Well, I observe Veterans Day by first, I call my father-in-law. He's a Vietnam vet. And if you remember when they came back, they weren't as celebrated as those of us that came back for, let's say, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, or Iraqi Freedom or Enduring Freedom. So I always call him and thank him for his service. And my husband, he's also military. So basically, we just spend the day mostly watching the History Channel because there's always something on about veterans and military campaigns and things like that.
So I observe Veterans Day by making it a point to connect with local veterans in my area. We have a standing tradition that each year we get together for a meal, maybe have a beverage, and we also set a place for those who have fallen, who left us in combat.
Veterans Day for me is about reflection. I tend to spend time with my husband, who's still a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, and we probably watch war movies because that's what he likes to do. But I am always reflecting on the service of the veterans and the sacrifice they've made for this nation.
Well, when I was at Fort Sill, our unit had a live mascot, a donkey, and his name was Big Deuce 3. And Big Deuce 3 was a staff sergeant. If he behaved, he got promoted. If he disappointed us, he got busted by the battalion commander. And we were doing a ceremony at post headquarters, firing a 19-gun salute for General Omar Bradley, who was the last 5-star general upon his death. And just as we were firing the salute, he decided to relieve himself and left a big pile of donkey manure there in front of the commanding general, the chief of staff of the Army, and a lot of other dignitaries. So he went from staff sergeant to private that day.
Funny story that can only happen in the military to me happened when I left the MEPS, actually left the in-processing station. And the drill sergeant came on the bus and he said to us, "You have 2 minutes to get off this bus, and 1 minute and 30 seconds has already passed." So everybody scrambled to get off the bus. It was just craziness. So I got off the bus and there I was standing in formation right in front because I had to be first, and a bee came by. So what do you do when a bee comes by? You fan it off. Well, the drill sergeant got into my face and was like, "What are you doing, Private? Why are you moving in my formation?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then he said, "What's your name?" I said, "I don't know." "Where are you from?" "I have no idea."
My time at boot camp was fun. I know that sounds a little silly, but it was fun. I learned a lot about teamwork with difficult people and people that I actually like, and learned to have a little more character.
My time in boot camp was very interesting. I actually went through at a time when they were the kinder, gentler Army. Apparently I was supposed to get some kind of card that gave me stress relief. I never saw one of those. I don't know what this mythical thing was called.
It was a good time to actually grow up and learn some responsibility and to be held accountable.
I got in trouble for laughing, for crying, and I also learned a lot. I learned about how much my body could take, how focused I could be, and all in all, I think it was a good experience. It helped me hone my discipline skills, and it was definitely something I think everyone should experience at least once.
If you enter in through ROTC, you just have to do 1 month of field training for officers. So the thing about it though is that I went to military college. I actually attended the Citadel. And so this was several years after women entered the Citadel. So women were allowed in Citadel in '95. I entered in '98. And the whole first year is like boot camp. So for me, the Citadel was boot camp that first year, and field training was a blur, and just, you know, I'm sure it was very difficult for some people, but after my experience, boot camp was really a walk in the park.
It affects everything that I do because I was born at a military hospital. I was a dependent until I went on active duty. So I've been basically in the military my whole life. When I go to visit my 3 children, I'm going to Fort Drum, Fort Benning, or Fort Carson, Colorado right now. So it's all I know. A lot of people notice that I have a tendency to set and enforce high standards, and I strive for perfection.
My military experience has affected my life in many positive ways. It taught me about hard work, always displaying excellence in all that I do, which is one of the Air Force core values, and really just kind of pushing through challenges. And I think that all branches are synonymous in that, being able to push through and to do good work.
My military experience affects my life today because I'm very regimented and very disciplined afterwards. I also learned not to take myself too seriously in certain circumstances, and I think that I deal better with stress than a lot of my civilian contemporaries do.
It's responsible for my education. It's responsible for my professional opportunities, and just being able to be a team player as well as exude leadership in different opportunities. So I owe a lot to the military for the foundation that it gave me and really propelled me to what I'm doing currently.
It's discipline, loyalty, honesty, and it drives everything that I do today. Discipline is key. We need discipline to wake up, discipline to pay our bills, discipline our kids. It's just a way of life.
Well, like I mentioned, I learned really how to focus working 12-hour shifts. I was a weather forecaster. And so working 12-hour shifts and then going to school when I wasn't on shift required me to really focus, kind of pull in and pull from my motivation for why I was doing what I was doing, and also to exercise the discipline that I had learned throughout my experience in the Air Force.
There's a discipline I have that I didn't have when I was 17. There's a dedication to duty, and I've really honed in on my core values. And those core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all I do.
Well, my military experience, how does it affect my life today? It's still impacted my life. I still think about dedication. I still think about mission first, get the job done. I still think about the discipline and the responsibility and not missing deadlines, because you know it's a hurry up and wait. And even if it's a hurry up and wait, you get it done and you get it done on time.